Happy Sunday. Happy Father's Day to all them papas out there, and welcome everyone to episode 26, my god, of Video Game Club. As always, I'm your host Tyler, and I have with me today the mayor of Celandia, Austin.
Hello.
And of course, it wouldn't be a Video Game Club episode without Zia's muse, Mox.
Hello. That's such a nice thing to say.
Oh no, Mox, you sound
like a robot.
terrible. She's full on robot right now. And while Mox takes care of that, I would like to welcome from the deepest, darkest depths of the internet, the lover of all things calamity, Chris.
Hello.
Hey, Chris. As I mentioned before, this is Video Game Club, where every 2 weeks we discuss a game voted on by our wonderful friends in the Bombchu Discord and discuss that game right here on twitch.tv/BombchuTV. And if you can't catch us live, no problem. You can always find us on YouTube. Now, before we get started, what was your favorite announcement from E3? And you have to pick something. Austin.
Metroid 5. I really never thought I'd see the day. I thought Metroid 4 or Metroid Prime 4 was going to be the next bit, and we were just going to keep getting new Prime games or remakes of old ones, but definitely never expected I would actually see Metroid Dread coming. So very, very stoked for that.
Even kept the name from like the canceled project from the DS.
Yeah, so wild.
It's insane. Chris, what about you? Any E3 things that stuck out to you?
I guess it wasn't a new announcement, but getting to see Elden Ring was definitely the high point of E3 for me.
Oh, for sure, that counts. That I would consider that a new-ish thing.
Yeah, we
because
knew nothing about that
This was the
before.
most we had ever seen other than, George R. R. Martin's evolved, and here's some mountains.
Right.
So yeah, definitely Elden Ring. 'Cause,
And Robot
boy.
Mox, what about you?
Am I still a robot?
Oh, no, you're
you
not
sound
now.
better.
Oh, thank you. I wanted to say thank you for the very nice compliment in my introduction. But also, Shin Megami Tensei 5 has a release date. Yay!
Yep. How did you feel like it showed, though, in that trailer? It seemed to be
I don't
kind
watch
of...
trailers.
Oh, okay. So you don't even know. Well, I won't spoil
No.
it
No
for you.
wonder you're so excited for it.
Yeah. Yeah, and besides that, I'm sure some of us have been playing Nier, which is going to be 2 Game Clubs, 2 episodes from now, the one after the next one, right? We will be talking
Correct.
about Nier Automata, so if you're still playing that, keep on. We believe in you. There's a couple endings.
They said it's near Automata. The robots in the game call it Automata.
Robots
Well,
are
they're
wrong.
So.
Yeah.
So I was right the whole time. Ha!
As a robot, sometimes I take offense to that.
Oh, gosh. As a reminder for this episode, the nominations were Bastion, To the Moon, and The Last Campfire. And after the vote ended, Bastion was the winner. So let's jump in to Bastion. Bastion is a action RPG developed by Supergiant Games, published initially by Warner Brothers Interactive Entertainment. Shortly, I think it was, I don't know how many years after, but Supergiant Games took over publishing, and now they have it now. So when it comes out on anything new, it's all Supergiant Games. It was released on the Xbox 360 initially on July 20th, 2011, coming to all platforms later, even iOS.
Oh, God.
It was part of the famous Xbox Live Arcade, like Summer of Arcade, right?
Oh, the Summer of Arcade was just like,
Mhm.
for a few years, that was just such a great time of the year.
Yeah.
Yeah, like we got so many good, like let's talk about some games that came out of that, like Braid, Limbo.
Super
Right.
Meat
Explosion
Boy,
Yeah.
Dishwasher, the Dead Samurai.
What?
What did you
Yeah.
What did you say, Chris?
Explosion Man
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Missplosion Man.
and Miss
Mhm.
Explosion Man, which was just as good.
There were some just bangers and it was so great. And they remember, didn't they have like some deal? Like if you bought so many of them, like I don't know. I
Yeah,
remember
they would
like
give
there
you
was
rewards or something like that.
Yeah. Gosh, what a time to be alive. So we're gonna talk about Bastion and how it was released in 2011. So what else was going on in 2011 in North America? Well, we had some software such as the old 11-11-11, Skyrim. I'm sure some people here played that.
Oh God, Fade to Black.
Whoever named their child Dovahkiin on that day for whatever the Bethesda contest, they're turning 10 this year.
No.
Dang. That's crazy.
That is crazy. Oh my gosh, that is crazy.
Little Dovahkiin's gonna be 10.
In the not too distant future, the Skyrim kid will be able to vote. That makes me feel so old.
Didn't Turok also have a naming thing?
Yes.
Oh
they
my
have.
gosh.
I forget what the prize for that was, but there is a kid out there named Turok. So.
How old is he now?
He would have to be, because that was mid-90s. So
25?
25, maybe later 20s. I'm not sure.
Oh my gosh. Portal 2, Modern Warfare 3, Batman Arkham City, Skyward Sword, Gears 3, Dead Space 2, and even a game we already played. Any guesses? Mox?
It wasn't Axiom Verge, was it?
No. Chris?
Oh, I feel like I should know this.
Austin?
No, I got nothing.
Man, I'm blanking super hard.
What if I tell you that the 3DS came out this year? Would that help you?
No.
I mean, Mario didn't come out that year, did it?
It did.
Wow.
Man.
Super
I don't know why I thought it
Mario
was the next year.
3D Land.
What a terrible game.
I was gonna say,
agree.
like, what a great year for games, and then you brought that up.
Yeah, it kind of brings the whole average down pretty hard.
The PS Vita also launched in Japan as well.
Hey, it's the only place it'll be relevant.
And the Bastion was developed using the the Microsoft XNA engine.
Really?
Yeah. Initially.
Initially, or as in like when it was ported, they got rid of it?
I'm assuming so. I mean, I only looked at the 360 version specifically.
This is a very impressive game
XNA
for
game?
being made in XNA.
Extremely.
Although I guess Fez was also originally made in XNA. So, man, yeah, with the right hands, you could really do some good stuff with that. That's crazy.
So let's dive a bit into Supergiant Games. So they were founded in 2009 by Amir Rao and Gavin Simon, based in San Francisco, California. They were EA employees before they started Supergiant Games, and they worked on the Command and Conquer series. They left to form the studio because they wanted basically increased development speed and the ability to try new ideas. And so they left EA, founded their own company. As of 2018, they had 20 employees, and they've developed 4 games total. I'm sure a lot of people know of these games, but Bastion, Transistor, Pyre, and the super popular Hades.
Yay. All great games.
Have you played them all, Mox?
Well, I've watched a lot of people play Hades, but I played all the other ones.
I know that there's some, like, not everyone likes Transistor or Pyre. I can't remember which one.
What? Really?
A lot of people
Pyre.
did not like Pyre, yeah.
Yeah.
Which Pyre
It's different.
It is. It's definitely different. It's an interesting idea. It's like there's like a sport game as the main gameplay,
That's
and
cute.
like a visual novel in between.
Yeah, it's like weird
just
fantasy
very
basketball.
structured very differently from their other games.
So like Final Fantasy X.
Oh god.
More, if all you did in Final Fantasy X was play Blitzball, sure.
So Bastion. It's an action game with light role-playing elements. You control a character called the Kid, and you move through these floating, fantasy-themed environments that form paths as you approach them. The levels consist of a single plane, and they're viewed isometrically, which is really cool. Filled with enemies of various types. You carry 2 weapons, as well as a special ability. You can change these weapons out at these things called arsenals, and you also like don't have all the weapons unlocked initially. You have to like find them as you go along. Same with the special attacks. There's all kinds of different environments in the levels, such as cities, forests, bogs. At the end of most levels, you collect an item called a core or a shard, and once you collect that item, the level begins to like fall apart, and you have to retreat to the Bastion, which is where I guess like it's like your home base, I guess you would describe it.
Yeah.
While all this is going on, there's a narrator that's basically narrating almost everything you do, and as you do it, which is really cool, and it never really gets annoying. I would say it's really interesting. I'm sure people will have some comments on that later on. You do, as you go along, you earn like materials and certain things that allow you to upgrade the buildings, but also the weapons as well, and allow you to buy some additional items. Hence the RPG elements. You also level up as well, and leveling up allows you to, I guess, have additional health. Whenever you leave your home base, the Bastion, you can choose between going to these regular levels that I just described, or you can engage in these challenge courses. They're called Proving Grounds, and they have you do different challenges with certain weapons that you have unlocked, and you can unlock materials to upgrade that weapon or other weapons if you do really well in them. Did anyone here play all of the Proving Grounds? Like full completion?
I tried all of them at least once. I completed maybe half of them.
Dang. What about you, Austin?
I did a couple of them.
Mm-hmm.
That one of them I actually went back to revisit later after I got an upgraded that I needed to complete it. But this is like my third time playing the game, so I wasn't that focused on seeing everything. But just kind of dipping my toes everywhere.
Okay. Mox, you didn't really?
No.
Yeah. I also just did the weapons that I was interested in, but besides that, I was just like, eh. After the game is completed, you can do a new Game Plus mode, where you have all the experience points, fragments, and weapons that you gain from before, so you can just try to max everything out. Did anybody start New Game Plus?
No.
Also,
no, but I plan on it.
Oh.
I had the option to, but I decided to do a fresh playthrough for this.
Okay. So that is the gameplay elements of Bastion in a nutshell. Is there anything I missed as far as gameplay goes that you guys want to call out here that's not spoilery?
There are pets.
There are pets. Yeah, we didn't.
Yeah.
I actually didn't talk about that. There's also the oh man, Mox, you're making me sad thinking about the pets. But there's also the dream memory things that happen. These are almost like
challenge gauntlets.
Yeah. And you kind of find
they
those as
basically
you go along.
serve as a way for you to grind for the currency if you
are
trying to get a bunch for upgrades.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about the plot. And for this, I am going to put on the old spoiler tag here. So, as always, interrupt me if you want to dive more into the plot details as I go along. And I am curious what everyone's decisions were at the end of the game once we get there. So the game takes place in the aftermath in the aftermath of the calamity, which was this catastrophic event that basically broke the whole city of Celandia, as well as all the surrounding areas. And that's how they explain the whole floating pieces thing of this game. You, like we mentioned before, you play as the kid who's a silent protagonist who awakens on one of the few remaining pieces of the old world and sets off to find the Bastion, where everyone was supposed to go whenever there were troubled times, some sort of a catastrophic event would happen. That's where people were supposed to go. The only survivor you meet is an elderly man named Rux, and he is the game's narrator. And he tells you that you need to find the cores that once powered the city, and that there's a device in the Bastion that will use those cores to create landmasses and structures, and it will kind of enable you to, travel further. I guess it also it's somehow is able to restore things as well. I guess Mox, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, yeah.
I was waiting.
The story is not. I didn't like the story, so I don't really care what you say about it.
Oh, dang. Okay. During your quest here, you meet two survivors, Zulf who's an ambassador from Ura, which is like this underground, I don't know, area that like had a war with Celandia. And you also meet Zia, who's a girl of the Ura as well, who but she was raised on Celandia. Both of them come back to the Bastion with you, and you kind of discover that Zulf like intentionally damages the monument, which is like the where the cores go. Right?
Yes.
Okay. And
sabotages the Bastion.
Yeah, and then he returns to the Ura territory. Then you learn about this like weapon that is intended to destroy the Ura, but it's rigged to like backfire as well. And it was like that's the whole reason why I believe that's the reason why that like Celandia is in the state that it's in. That is like the calamity that has happened.
Yeah.
Well, so like Celandia was built basically on the land that belonged to the Ura. So the Ura and the Celandians got into a fight, but Celandia came out on top because they have superior technology. And then, made a treaty with the Ura saying like, hey, you stay on your side, we'll stay on ours. And they agreed. But then the Celandians were built, I think they were called the Mancers or something.
Yeah,
were building
Mancers.
a weapon to, if the Ura ever rose up again. But really it was supposed to take out the Ura before they could do any damage. And then the person that was making that realized what the Mancers wanted to do and then, kind of rigged it so it would backfire, like you said.
Yeah, I think it was Zia's father who worked on it. Yeah.
And that backfire is what ended up causing the calamity in the first place.
Yeah.
Yes.
So in order to repair the damage that Zulf caused to the Bastion, you have to collect these things called shards, which are basically smaller cores or pieces of a core. It's not, I don't think they really say what they are exactly. Whenever that happens, the Ura attack the Bastion, damaging it even more, and they abduct Zia. Then you basically go into Ura territory and try to like save Zia. And you find out that Zia has left on her own, like voluntarily, to understand what the intentions are of the Ura. Okay. After that, you travel. So basically, Rux told Zia that the Bastion can fix the calamity, and so the kid. You travel to like.
Okay, keep going. Sorry, I'll interrupt later.
you travel to the homeland of the Ura to retrieve the last shard, and there you discover that Zulf is being attacked by his own people. This is like this is like the end of the game. Essentially, it's like what it's all been leading up to. It's all one big
like sequence.
Yeah. Then so like the reason why they're attacking him is because they blame him for bringing the kid to their home in the first place. And
Which
this
is true.
Yep. And this is when you have a decision to make. Were you going to say something before this decision, Mox, that occurs?
Keep going.
So you have a decision to make, which is you can choose to help Zulf or leave him, basically. Because he's being just like attacked like crazy and he's like super weak. If you leave him behind, you destroy the remnants of the Ura and escape the Skyway. If you choose to carry Zulf, the archers of the Ura, like, they fire at you and stuff, but eventually they stop and just, like, watch silently as you take...
Because, in order to help Zulf, you have to drop all your weapon that you're using.
Right, you can't fight back.
So you can't fight back. You just have to walk and take a beating.
Yeah, and they make it to where, like, the archers will fire on you, but they won't kill you.
Yeah.
So that's kind of interesting. So what did you guys do here at this part? Start with you, Mox.
You have to save. You can't let people die.
So you saved him.
There's no other option. Did you guys kill him?
I did not.
I didn't.
I carried him.
Okay, everyone carried him. Nice.
Yeah, I mean, come on.
Yeah.
He kind of
whole
turned
of
on
the
you,
internet.
but
He's saved this guy.
Yeah. After you return to the Bastion and recover, you have another choice, which is you can have the Bastion rewind time to before the calamity in hopes of preventing it, or you can use it to evacuate the survivors and move on to somewhere safe. And they don't really tell you like which one is like the right decision here. Like there's no like right or wrong. They're just like, yeah, these are two things that you can do, and we don't know like if rewinding time will even help. But you never know. So what did you guys do there?
Well, Zia wants you to not rewind time.
Correct.
And then like Rux like sets it up so that you do.
Yeah,
So I guess
there's like it's like a fork, right? And they're both there talking to you.
so who do you disappoint?
Yeah, Rux, right?
No, Zia's who cares about Zia? She's not even important. That's why I felt like this wasn't even a decision. Yeah, rewind time. Why wouldn't you want to
Wow.
undo the calamity? Why would you want people to have died when you can stop people from dying? That's why I got mad about the story.
But what if
the important thing to note is that Rux doesn't know if that will stop the calamity or not.
You're right. You're right.
So you may just be making people have experienced death again over and over again.
But you
Keep
gotta
rewinding time.
try.
You gotta try?
Yeah.
I gotta try and move on by siding with Zia.
Yeah, same.
Wow.
What about you, Austin? What'd you do?
Yeah, so I decided to just accept that what had happened and try to move on and start a new world. So I did not rewind time.
So
Just real quick, going back to your previous point, Mox, when you said, so I thought it was interesting when you said, like, no, you can't kill people, right? So I was trying to think of a scenario where I would have killed him or left him behind.
Mm-hmm.
So what if you go to save him and he, like, tries to backstab you, like he betrays you again while you're saving him?
Like
At
he
that
pulls-
point,
he-
would
if he
you
pulls a
then,
Frieza?
given the choice again, do you keep trying to save him, or at that point are you like, okay, I guess you don't want to be saved and leave him behind?
In reality, I would look up a guide and see what result comes from which decisions. But
my gosh.
but in the at the moment, I would probably just leave him to be like, whoa, sorry, sorry, I tried to save you,
Okay.
bro. I'll leave
Okay.
you be.
So, Mox, you chose the wrong decision at the very, very
Whoa.
end, and I can explain why. So,
Unfortunately, he's not wrong.
the game ends either way, by the way, showing images of the characters with the inclusion of Zulf if you choose to save him, which everyone did here. And in the New Game Plus mode, if you choose to do that, it is hinted that restoring the world didn't prevent the calamity. So, you just made people suffer again.
It's a
Well,
fixed
then I get
point in
another
time,
chance
it
and I'll
has to
restart
happen.
it. Maybe I'll have another chance to do it. What's that movie where that guy's on a train, Jake Gyllenhaal? I'll just do that over and over.
Inception? I'm kidding. Don't come
That's
after
also
me.
the plot of The Matrix.
Oh my gosh. Anything related to the story that you guys want to talk about? To be honest, like just my own personal take, I wasn't really into the story that much. I thought the gameplay was
I
more.
really liked it. I really liked the story of this. Because it rewards you for kind of in the same way Dark Souls does with its story of finding these items, talking to the people about the items to get little glimpses and just little pieces of the backstory and
Yeah.
the overall world building and stuff. It's all real minor, but it's there for the people who really want to see it. And if you don't want to see it, you don't really have to. But
Yeah.
yeah, I
That's
found myself
funny that
getting
you
pulled
mentioned
into it.
Dark Souls, because I was thinking of another scenario when Mox said it, I would look up a guide. I was
Gosh.
like, so imagine if you looked up a guide and found out if you save Zulf that he's going to like murder somebody at the Bastion, and because I was thinking of some scenarios that play out like that in Dark Souls,
Yeah.
but
I wouldn't save him. You got a total mass of life saved versus people I care about.
Oh, so you're gonna pull the switch on the train tracks?
No, I'm going to look up
got
a
it.
guide to figure out how
This is
I make the train jump off the tracks.
There's no guide to morality. You have to stand up for yourself eventually.
I did not expect to have such an interesting insight into Mox's mindset on morality in this episode. This is some pretty cool stuff.
Over a lack of empathy is quite shocking.
All right, moving on. Let's talk about the development of this game. So it was created by a team of 7 people, and it was their first game, like we already mentioned before. They started development in September of 2009. The team created the game almost 2 years, and funded it completely themselves.
Aww.
Most of the team built the game in a house in San Jose, though the music and the voice acting were recorded in New York City. And what's interesting is that some of the San Jose designers, including the writer, didn't even meet the voice actor of Rux in person until near release of the game. So it was all, remote and stuff, which is, how things have been kind of done recently with the pandemic and everything. So kind of crazy. They spent the first 9 months of development prototyping various ideas before setting on what the game's design would be. And the original idea was based around the premise of creating a town like those found in a RPG. The team chose the design elements of a fractured floating world due to their wish to portray a sky in the game, which is usually not possible with an isometric camera, as it always points down. So because, there's pieces, you can actually show the sky because everything's floating and being built as it goes. They also didn't want to have a map system either. And so they thought with the ground coming up, it kind of allowed you to see without a map, what was going on. And the story of the Calamity was created as a way to explain the game mechanic of the floating land as you kind of walk around. Yeah, we can talk a little bit about the art style. So there, someone who worked on the game, Gen Z, she developed the art style of the game to express beauty in a post-apocalyptic landscape. The hand-painted style was intended to soften the sharpness that she saw as typical in isometric games and the colorless, harsh depictions of most devastated landscapes. She was inspired by the pixel art landscapes of earlier Japanese isometric games. I don't know if anyone of you guys saw that inspiration. It was kind of cool that it is a post-apocalyptic game, but it's still pretty colorful for the most part.
Yeah, it does not feel like it at all.
Yeah, it's not brown.
Yeah. And when I say it doesn't feel like it's a post-apocalyptic world at all, I mean that in a good way. Because usually that's just brown and dark green and mud. And...
Yeah. The narrator was added really early in the game's development as a way to provide background details and depth of the world without requiring the player to read long strings of text or wait through cutscenes. So it avoided slowing the pace of the game down, which was super important when the team was developing this game. They didn't want the action to slow down, and so that's why the narrator spoke in these short, evocative phrases with long pauses in between them.
He added so much flavor. It was just that was what a great decision on that part.
See, I disagree, and I would get into this in my section of whatever my opinion, but I'm going to say it now. I was so distracted by trying to stay alive. I am bad at this game. I will say that. That I missed the story because he was talking while I was doing stuff.
Yeah. I experienced some of that. So I feel you. Lastly, on just the development piece, Supergiant Games showed an early unplayable version of the game at the GDC conference in 2010. And it wasn't no one was really that excited about it, but they did debut a playable version of the game at the Penny Arcade Expo in 2010 later in September, and that was very well received. And the thing was that they showed off the game again at GDC the next year in March 2011, and that's when Warner Brothers signed on to publish and distribute the game because it showed really well the second time they showed it. So I definitely think PAX helped with that as well, I would say. Kind of hyping the game up, and then they did some polish and showed it off again. And yeah, people really liked it.
Well, and I think a lot of with this game especially is that being able to get your hands on this game helps explain what it is better than just looking at it.
Yeah.
Because I remember seeing, because this was my first time playing through this game.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember having looked at various screenshots over the years. I had no idea what type of game Bastion was. But yeah, I think getting your hands on this game is a much better way to generate buzz than just trailers.
The game sold more than 500,000 copies during 2011. 200,000 of those were Xbox Live Arcade. So that goes to, pretty dang popular. March 2013, it sold more than 1.7 million copies. May 2014, over 2 million. January 2015, so this would have been 4 years after release, a little less than 4 years, it sold over 3 million copies. So,
Jeez.
Pretty successful indie game, I would say.
Yeah, you could say that.
I assume it was floated by its release of each subsequent game because people were like, oh, this, remember Bastion? This game's kind of like Bastion.
Yeah. But it was, it also received 8s and 9s. I mean, it sold really well, reviewed really well. Some of the things that critics liked were the presentation, the narration, the soundtrack. Some things that people didn't like so much was that it lacked complexity. Some people didn't really enjoy the combat. They thought it was like pretty simple and not much to it, which I disagree. And then some people didn't like the plot as well, which I also kind of agree with. But the presentation and the narration and the soundtrack were things that people really loved. Now, let's get into our personal takes. I want to start with you, Chris. Lay it on us.
Oh, all right. So yeah, like I said, this was the first time I had played Bastion at all. I had played a little bit of Pyre, but not much past the initial presentation of the concept, and I've played some handful of hours of Hades. And so I was coming into this game knowing that it was from the developers of Hades, so I was like, well, it's probably going to play something like an early version of that, which it kind of does.
Mm-hmm.
But I was really, I don't know if it was just a low expectations or whatnot, but I was really surprised by Bastion. I really like this game. I mean, who would have thought this very critically well-regarded game turns out to be good? But yeah, it was, like you said, critics were complaining about some of the simplicity of the combat. Like, I think it's a perfect balance between being too complex and having too much stuff that you can do and have to keep track of, and it was just the perfect amount.
Yeah.
And just the variety of ways you could play. Like, I had never even thought about it until I was about halfway through the game. I was like, I wonder if I can equip 2 guns at the same time instead of doing a melee weapon and a gun. I was like, oh, I totally can. This is kind of amazing.
And that changes like how the game is, like, like how you play the game, because you need distance, and so it changes a lot of things. Yeah.
And yeah, I was really impressed and surprised by this game. Pretty much everything about it I liked. Like, I love the music in this game. It's, again, like we were talking about with the visuals, not at all what you'd expect from like a post-apocalyptic setting. It's like strangely Western, kind of. Yeah. The narrator is, of course, amazing. I had been previously exposed to the narrator through the Dota announcer pack, which became the default announcer pack that every single person on the planet used for like a year. I think until was it that voice actor just did like a thing for that, or? Yeah, he recorded a whole bunch of new voice lines, all for Dota 2, and yeah, he was the announcer, and he would do like the kill streak announcements, and he would just talk about random stuff during a match.
That's funny.
That's cool.
And yeah, I think that was the one like everybody used as their announcer pack up until like, I think GLaDOS, when they did the GLaDOS.
I was gonna say, GLaDOS definitely took over.
For me, it was when the Stanley Parable announcer became an announcer pack, because that one is amazing.
Hell yeah. So what would you give this, Chris, out of 10?
Oh, I'd give it a 10.
Woo! Oh my god.
This is, for this type of game, for that kind of isometric action, beat 'em up sort of character action kind of game, this is exactly what I want. It's short, it doesn't overstay its welcome, but it's not too short. It's got a perfect complexity balance to the combat. Everything looks and feels really good. Like, yeah, this game was perfect for me.
This is a man who gave Beyond Two Souls a 0, gives Bastion a 10.
Hey, I'm a man of extreme beliefs.
Mox, what about you?
I like this game, and I had played it when it first came out, and then, gosh, then for this club. But I struggle with it, and I know part of it is I played it with a mouse and keyboard.
Oh my God.
Mox,
I know.
why do you keep doing this to yourself?
And it's because it's isometric, everything's diagonals. I don't even think it's calculable the number of times I fell through the floor. I've heard the narrator has a little thing that he says every time you fall. I heard every single one, 30 times. And I am so bad at this game. I couldn't find a weapon set that worked for me, and it was like banging my head against a wall.
Mm-hmm.
But I appreciate what they did with the game, and I think it was my fault, not theirs. I couldn't find my controller. Everything's in boxes. So that was why I played it with a mouse and keyboard. Don't play with a mouse and keyboard. It's impossible.
We could have told you that.
Same with Sonic. Please don't play Sonic.
Actually, please do play Sonic Adventure with mouse and
No,
keyboard.
it's horrible.
So we need another human to be able to relate to Mox. So please, someone play it.
Am I a robot or a human? I don't even know.
I guarantee that's the first time somebody's ever played that Sonic game with a mouse and keyboard.
Why do they
never
have it?
happened
Why do they
before.
have the settings in it saying mouse and keyboard if you can play it? You're not supposed to.
Fair
Whatever. Anyway, I like this. I like the music a lot. I love that Build That Wall, Zia's theme.
Mm-hmm.
I like the narrator. I think my favorite streamer is Lyric. Sorry, I guess my favorite streamer is Bombchu. My second favorite streamer is Lyric. And for a while, he had the narrator do his like little announcements for like when people donated, and I thought that was really cute. I like, and I'm hearing that he was the announcer on Dota too. I like that he's, he found his niche, I guess, being a gravelly announcer person. But he definitely added to the game, and I liked the just like the whole ambiance created by the game. But I'm really bad at it, and I wish I had more time to give to the storyline because I was just so busy falling through the floor and avoiding, windbags or whatever. But otherwise, I'd give it. It's hard because I just sucked at it so bad.
That's okay.
I'll give it an 8 out of 10.
An 8 from Mox.
An 8.
So I'll go, and then we'll wrap up with you, Austin. You'll take us home.
Okay.
All right, Austin, you want to go now?
It's up to you. If you're looking for a take me home like last time,
Yeah.
then yeah, I'll go first.
Okay, go ahead.
So this is like I said, this is my third time playing this, and I remember playing it around the time when it came out. Not immediately. I was in college and I didn't have cash to just drop on random games, but I played the demo and I was just fascinated by it. Thought it was amazing, and eventually I had the money to buy the game. And I thought the building paths as you walked on them was really cool. And like you said, not having a map, it was always really clear where I had gone and where I hadn't so far.
Yep.
So I could know where to kind of look next. I also didn't have like choice paralysis over paths I wasn't taking.
Yeah.
Which was nice. Usually I get like really panicky, like, oh my god, I have to remember to go down that path and this path and all the paths. And when they aren't there yet, it as long as I don't walk over to that spot, I don't see the path for them.
Right.
So the narrator's so good. Like, I remember the first time playing the demo, when you first get the hammer, I just started breaking a bunch of stuff. Like, you could break the stuff on the sides of the path. And I just kept doing that for a while, just like, oh, this is pretty satisfying. And the narrator was just like, he just spun around and raged for a while or something like that.
Yes, I know what you're talking
about. Oh my
about.
gosh. I freaked out. I was just like, oh my god, the narrator knows what I'm doing. Like, and it's such a little thing, but it's really cool. And I love that they have kept using him over the years. Like, he's in Transistor. I don't remember if he's in Pyre or not. I hope he's in Hades. I haven't played Hades yet. The music's really good. The art style's great. The combat feels good. I think it gets kind of the difficulty spikes towards the end.
Yeah.
Where combat gets really hectic.
Yeah.
But it's not like unbearable. It got to a point where I was like, I'm not having as much fun. It's really just like
More
dealing with stuff.
Yeah.
but at the same time, it wasn't ruining my experience or anything like that.
But it definitely ramps up though, right? Because
Yes.
you're kind of like
yeah.
having, you don't have to be too worried about survival. You're more just like, all right, I'm just gonna come in here. Like you're the strong one.
Speak for yourself.
Oh, well. But as you go on, it gets definitely more difficult, which is expected. But it
Yeah.
changes a bit, like to where you are not
And-
the strongest one there.
I don't think at
Yeah.
any point there was ever any kind of huge leap in difficulty. It was a pretty steady upward trajectory for the most part.
Hmm.
There
Yeah.
was the first time that they start introducing, I forget what they're called, but they're the ones that leap up in the air and you can only hit them from behind.
Oh yeah.
When they first start introducing those sets of enemies, there's a little bit of a spike, and then there's a spike right at the very end when you start going into the Yura homeworld.
Yeah, for sure.
Definitely.
I really appreciate what it did for the indie scene, because like
Mhm.
whenever I think of
Yes.
indie games, it's like, okay, Braid and Limbo kind of got things started,
Mhm.
got people wet at the mouth of like, hey, this is interesting, what could be done. And I always think of this as like the real, maybe like the Jaws moment
Mm.
of the indie scene,
Yeah.
of just like, okay, indie games are here to stay, and this was kind of the start of that for me.
Right.
Now, with all that said,
Uh-oh. Prep yourself.
I like this game. I don't want to play it anymore. I don't want to play this game anymore.
Yes.
And my first time playing it, I thought it was great. And the second time, I thought it was still good. And this time playing it, I was just like, please get to the end. Like, the combat's good, but also, like, I just want to be done. And so, it's not a game with a lot of replay value for me. And so I'm trying to decide if I want to rate it on my experience or if I want to rate it just as a game.
Do you?
At this point, with everything else that's come out since then, it's a bit unremarkable just
Agreed.
on its own.
Would you say it's important to play to like appreciate and understand the indie scene and
No.
Supergiant?
No.
I
Play,
think so.
play another Supergiant game. Play the newest one.
Okay.
No.
I mean,
Sorry, it's your
no,
opinion,
that's your.
not
I
mine.
mean, like, if you're trying to get an appreciation of like
The history.
the history of games, yeah, for sure. Like, this is an important piece of history. If you're trying to just play a fun game today,
Maybe not.
I think this one is it's kind of unremarkable, especially like where the indie scene has gone since then.
Mm.
There's a lot of really unique stuff out there, and this one is less so. I mean, on a fresh experience, this can definitely be just a fun, short romp.
Yeah.
But replaying and having seen everything else that's out there, it's just like I'd give it a solid 7.
Okay. So
I also want to add just real quick.
go ahead, Chris.
Just reminded me of something I wanted to bring up and forgot.
Yeah, do it.
Was as much as you were saying, like, the later games that Supergiant does are better iterations on this formula. This game actually makes me think less of Hades,
Mm-hmm.
because boy, Hades is almost this exact same game.
It is extremely
It's
similar.
remarkably similar.
Like,
Like the whole time I was playing it, I'm like, I can see that this is the people who made Hades, and it's like,
mhm.
the more I got into it, I'm like, this is really just a stripped down version of Hades, which makes me think a lot less of Hades.
even when
Which
it comes,
I know everybody loved that game. but-
yeah, and like in Hades, you go back to you have like a hub where you
Yeah.
upgrade stuff just like this. Like the combat is similar. Like
the combat's really similar.
and even like some of the enemies, like their patterns are similar.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, that's I'm gonna touch a little bit about that too. So I've always heard people hype Supergiant games, like just growing up, and I never played them. Just similar to Austin, it came out when I didn't have a ton of money at the time. But the great thing about Xbox is that like during the 360 age, like everything had to have a demo. So I also played the demo, and I remember liking it, but I was like, it just wasn't like, I don't know, I wasn't gonna spend my money, what I had on it at the time. But with the release of Hades recently, I was definitely ready to start jumping into their games. And I did play some of Hades before playing Bastion. because people would not stop raving about it, and I was like, all right, I have to see what all the hype's about. And I find I'm gonna talk about something that I just find really interesting about like hype in the industry in general. It's pretty funny to me that Hades was hyped so much like in the past year, because it's been on the Epic Game Store for 2 years in early access, and nobody really was talking about it then. Like it did not get the, like, there was no hype train at that time. So that either is telling about the Epic Game Store, or when a game comes out on Switch, or when a game leaves early access, one of those things. But I just thought that was funny. Anyway, I've known about Bastion for a while, and I knew that it was a very solid game from talking with my friends, and it was one of those special XBLA games that everyone holds so highly, and so I was very excited to check it out. And I had a lot of fun with it. I thought it was short and sweet. Art style was really pretty. Narration was really special. Game itself controlled pretty well, in my opinion. And I really like games that allow you to invest more time if you want to, but don't like really force you in order to finish it. Like, you could finish this game without upgrading all the weapons, or without even like buying things from the store, or without doing all the proving grounds. Like, you can still get to an ending if you want, but that content's there for those people that want to upgrade their weapons all the way. And they have that new game plus too, which is also allows you to do that. The soundtrack, to me, and I know this is really weird, but it didn't really stick out too much until I was listening to it just now, and I was like, oh yeah, I remember, like, okay. But while I was playing it, I was just like, yeah, it's okay. And I felt more that this was more of like a gameplay first type of game for me. Like,
the soundtrack was very unobtrusive.
Yeah. But overall, I really enjoyed it, and I would recommend everyone give it a try, at least. You can usually catch this game on like a really good sale. Like, I think I've seen it as low as like $3 on Steam. Maybe $5. I thought it was $3. Anyway, you can get it pretty cheap, and I would definitely recommend everyone give it a try, especially even if you've played Hades. Like Chris, you've played Hades, right?
Yeah, I've got about 10-ish hours in Hades.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and you
yeah, like
still
I said,
enjoyed
I ended
this.
up liking this, and yeah, I've liked this way more than I do Hades.
So there may be like, some people out there that have only played Hades, and this may be a good one to check out. I am also really interested in their other games. I like the idea of the one that's like a sports thing.
It's really cute.
Yeah, like I said, I never put more than like 2 hours into Pyre, but I played enough to play like 2 or 3 of the actual sport game that you play.
Yeah,
and it's fun. I just don't know if that has legs because I haven't put enough time into it yet.
Yeah, I just never came back to it either.
What about Transistor? Did you guys play that one at all?
I never played that one.
Yeah, I finished that one. It's good. A lot of people compare it to Bastion, and I would not do that personally.
Really?
It plays very differently from Bastion. It has a similar look, and like it's the isometric style, and you've got like the narrator, instead of him being just a narrator, he's your sword. But it plays very, very differently.
Is there anything that anyone would like to add about Bastion? Oh, I don't know if I said this, but I would give it an 8 out of 10 on my scale. Similar to Mox. Is there any last words about Bastion before we wrap up? No?
We should tackle some of the other Supergiant games for Game Club at some point.
Yeah, I agree. I completely agree. Also, Hades got announced for PlayStation, Xbox, and stuff too. So if you don't have a PC, but you're interested in and a Switch, and you're interested in checking out Hades, it is going to come to those systems here shortly. It was announced at E3, I think, in August, and it's going to be on Game Pass day one too. So if you have that and you own an Xbox, there you go. All right, that was Bastion. If you enjoyed hearing us discuss Bastion and want to join us for the next game, stay put, because our next regular Video Game Club game vote just ended, and it was between Control, Pocket Card Jockey, which I love so much, and Cloudpunk. And it looks like, I'm going to check just in case something crazy happened.
Wow.
You never know. You never know. You never? Let me check.
No.
Oh my lord. I think this is like the the biggest like landslide victory we've had. I think this is
Also, is it the most amount of votes?
maybe 23.
Well,
Yeah.
20.
Oh, Austin, did you not remove your votes? Oh, you didn't. Okay,
I did not.
so 20. But it's going to be Control. So thank you
Yay.
everyone who voted. And thank you everyone for joining us. Again, just as a reminder, you can catch us here on twitch.tv/BombchuTV every 2 weeks at 2 Eastern, with the next stream being on July 4th, good old Independence Day.
Woo!
And if you can't make the live session, don't worry, you can find the episode up on YouTube. Now, before we leave, Austin, Chris, anything that people should be looking out for? Bombchu stuff?
Yeah, I don't know.
We got
Look out for the next episode of Game Club.
yeah.
Hell yeah. I think I guess there will be a Humble stream. Right? Yeah. First.
That would
too early
be
to
a couple
think
days
Oh,
after the next
after the
Game
next
Club.
one. Okay. All right.
I feel like anybody who has ever bought a Humble Bundle has Bastion multiple times over in their library.
If you were an early bundle buyer, because like Bastion was in some of their like really early bundles.
All right, you're right.
Hmm.
That's how I have it.
Yeah.
Anything you want to plug, Mox?
No, but play Nier so we can talk about it because it's such a good game and I love it. And I'm a robot and I love the robots.
Everyone play Nier, get all them endings.
Yes.
Austin, thank you so much for joining.
Thanks for having
Of
me.
course. Mox, thank you.
Build that wall.
Chris, thank you.
It's a pleasure, as always.
I'm Tyler, and this was Video Game Club, episode 26, Bastion, and we're out. I'd like to give a special shout out to Michael Slater, Blake Harms, and all of our patrons over on Patreon. Thank you, and thank everyone for watching.